1, 2, 3, 4, now she's ready, now it's time. A Boston girl who knows true crime. She got cash, attitude, gonna put you in a dark mood. She knows Monday, she knows summer, you now she's ready, now it's time. A Boston girl who knows true crime. She got cash, attitude, gonna put you in a dark mood. She knows Monday, she knows summer, you know Daily After Dark.
Hi and welcome to Danny After Dark. If you're new here, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss a notification or a new episode. Tonight, I'll be featuring a case that I have wanted to cover for quite some time now. I've known about this case for, over 10, 15 years, I want to say. I've always been fascinated by it. It's a little bit different of a true crime case than the ones I cover, but nonetheless, I'm really looking forward to talking about it. And that is the case of Dalia Dippolito. But before I jump into that, just a few housekeeping things. Just a reminder, if you are not following me on Instagram, the Danny After Dark, please do so. Also on TikTok. And I will not be around this coming weekend for the weekly True Crime and Chill. I will be in Nashville for CrimeCon. So stay tuned either next week or sometime once I can kind of get all my pictures and videos together, and I will do a whole episode on my trip to CrimeCon this year. But I'm really looking forward to that. Just packed today, even though it's not for a few more days. But still, I was just super excited. I was like, all right, I'm just going to start now. So, so stay tuned for that. And in the meantime, let's see. Hi, Tony. Good to see you. Hey, Fiddle. So yes, the case that I will be talking about tonight. This is one of those cases where I feel like a lot of people have seen the video. You might not know the name or the context, but I'm guessing you've seen the video. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, after the show, go on over to YouTube and just type Dalia Dippolito and you will, link after link after link after link. There's so much there. There's the interrogation as well as the actual police notification. So I'll reference that in this case, but you can watch for yourself and be the judge of what do you think or not, because there's some theories on this. I'll get to that at the end, and then I'll get into why I think that those theories don't hold up. But in the meantime, so Dalia and Mike Dippolito, they were young, attractive, and newlyweds, and they were just starting out their life together in South Florida. However, on the morning of August 5th, 2009, Mike would learn that his new wife was not the loving spouse that he thought she was, and the world would come to see firsthand the actress that she was. Dalia Muhammad was born in New York City on October 18th, 1982. She had two siblings and was raised by an Egyptian father and a Peruvian mother. When Dalia was 13 years old, the family relocated to Boynton Beach, Florida. She graduated high school in 2000. Mike Dippolito, he had a little bit more of a complicated past. He was an ex-con who served time in prison. However, he was out now and he was getting his life back on track. And he was actually doing quite well for himself. He was working as an internet entrepreneur. And then he met Dalia, who was working as an escort at the time. And when they met, the attraction was immediate. Mike, however, was still legally married to somebody else. So he arranged for a quick divorce. And Mike married Dalia the week his divorce was finalized. They lived together in a $250,000 condo in Boynton Beach, Florida. They were both into physical fitness, and the couple would often work out together in the mornings. And at night, they would go on date nights to the coolest spots in the city. Dalia would often tell Mike how much she loved him. For example, she wrote a note and left it on the fridge for him that said, quote, "The happiest I've ever been, completely unreal, my dream guy. Love you now, always, and forever," end quote. Dalia had also told Mike that she found out that she was pregnant. Now, August 5th, 2009, that was just 6 months into the marriage, Dalia left early to go to the gym. While she was there, she received a call from Sergeant Frank Ramsey, who then said to Dalia she needed to come home immediately for something, quote, very urgent, end quote, involving her husband that had occurred. When Dalia arrived home, she saw it appeared to be a crime scene. There was cop cars everywhere, caution tape, do not enter tape, all of that. She was not allowed inside the couple's condo. It was in the street where officers recorded her emotional reaction as they told her that her husband, Michael, was dead. Officer Ramsey explained to her that an intruder had broken into the house and shot Mike. She said, quote, the police officer said, quote, "Is your husband Michael? Okay, I'm sorry to tell you, ma'am, he's been killed," end quote. Dalia immediately began to wail and shouted, "No, dear God, no." Officers had Dalia go with them to the police station. They wanted them to find out from Dalia who she thought might be behind the murder of her husband. Now, before I continue with that, to leave you on that cliffhanger, let's see. What is Fiddle saying? Let's see. This sounds like a match made in Walmart. She's a hooker. He's married. Fiddle, we don't need to discuss, a repetition of something similar to your love story, perhaps, but nonetheless, no, I'm just kidding. There's been a lot of, I'm glad you actually mentioned that, Fiddle. There's been a lot of back and forth whether people say she was working as a hooker or whether she wasn't. She denied it. But nonetheless, most of the research points to the fact that at the time she was working as an escort. Again, doesn't mean anything, but when you get wrapped up in a case like this, as we know, all the things from your past come out. So that was one of the things that was questionable, but now the research pretty much shows that that's what she was working for and doing at the time. So, and the video that I talked about to you guys at the beginning, the one in the street where she's told about her husband being shot, that's what I just referenced. And then coming up now, that is the interrogation at the police station. You want to watch both. You definitely want to watch both because you see what looks like a grieving wife at the crime scene and then a grieving wife at the police station, but then it takes a bit of a turn. So when Dalia arrived at the police station, she began to come up with a possible list of suspects for police. And they also learned about Mike's past legal troubles. He was a convicted felon, as I mentioned earlier, and this was due to scamming thousands of dollars from investors by selling phony currency securities. After serving time, Mike was on probation, but he also owed $191,000 in restitution to his victims. As Dalia says, quote, "People weren't happy that he was getting off probation because it's a lot of money he's got to pay back," end quote. Dalia, however, she was not aware that Michael was actually still alive. What happened was police had rushed to the condo after being informed that his wife had hired someone to kill him. So Mike learned that on the spot and was brought out of the condo immediately. The police staged the area as though a crime had been committed, including crime scene tape, multiple police cars, and police surrounding the area. What Dalia did not know was that the hitman she hired was actually an undercover police officer. She had hired a hitman to kill Mike that day in what was designed to look as a botched home invasion. Dalia reached out to her friend, Mohammed, about hiring a hitman to kill her husband, Michael. Mohammed was instantly uncomfortable with the idea and immediately went out and reached out to police. And Dalia was not aware of this, so the police used Mohammed to set Dalia up to get more information about this hit. The police worked with him to arrange the actual meeting. So Muhammad told Dalia, again with police instruction, that he found someone to do the hit, and she provided photos of Michael as well as $1,200 in cash to buy a gun. Law enforcement was then able to get a video of Dalia by Boynton Beach police discussing plans to hire a hitman with Muhammad. And then the meeting with an undercover police officer, again posing as a hitman, to discuss the killing of her husband, Mike Dippolito, was arranged. Dalia gave the hitman her address, Michael's schedule, and talked about her desire to have him killed inside of their condo. The hitman said, quote, "You definitely want to do this," end quote. And Dalia responded, quote, "I'm positive, like 5,000% sure," end quote. Once Dalia was in the police interrogation room, police brought in a handcuffed man and claimed he was the, quote, "suspect," end quote, and was seen fleeing her house. The man played it off that he didn't know Dalia, and Dalia denied knowing him as well. Police then confronted Dalia with the recordings of her hiring a hitman. What did she do? She denied it all. The police then had Mike, her husband, appear in the doorway, and you can see this on the video. And Dalia totally has a very interesting flip of emotions in regards to her reaction. Mike said to Dalia, he now knew everything. Dalia would say, quote, "Mike, come here," end quote. "Come here, please, come here. I didn't do anything to you." He told her she was on her own. Dalia was then charged with solicitation of first-degree murder. But that's not all. Police learned that Dalia tried for months prior to this setup to get Michael arrested on a parole violation. She would plant cocaine by the wheel of his car and then tip off police. Another time, they were out one night when he was pulled over by police after going out to dinner with Dalia. Police found cocaine in his cigarette pack. Michael was adamant that the cocaine was not his, and the police officer actually believed him and found he was sincere, so he let him go. So all of Dalia's previous efforts to get Michael sent back to prison, it just wasn't working. So this is when police figured out she needed to up the ante and just get rid of him once and for all. Before I continue, hey, Kane, good to see you. Hey, Corey. Kane says you can't trust Hitman today. No, well, I mean, that statement is one of those, can you really trust a hitman even back in the day? Not necessarily, but I get what you're saying. But in this day and age, especially when there's cameras everywhere, so you're going to be caught. But yeah, no, I completely get what you're saying, Kane. Paul, hi, Paul, welcome. You must be quite free with your time tonight if you're here. It's a safe episode, so you can actually stay if you want. Let's see. Is this live? Yes, it's live. Hey, Todd, good to see you. So now Dalia is in jail. And who does she call? Because again, when you're arrested, you get that one phone call. She calls Michael. She continued to try to deny everything, denied she was ever involved in trying to kill him. Even though Michael had seen the police footage of her talking to the supposed hitman, she denied. And in fact, she became angry at him because he was not arranging to get her a lawyer. Well, Dalia ended up being released on bail the next day, $25,000. Coincidentally, the reality TV show Cops had been filming alongside the Boynton Beach Police Department on the day the police setup occurred and arrested Dalia. Again, both of these videos are on YouTube for you to see. Definitely check it out. It is worthwhile. I cannot stress that enough. So what happens next is in the spring of 2011, Dalia's trial began. Prosecutors argued that Dalia wanted her husband dead and to gain control of his assets. Dalia's defense said she was aware that she was actually being filmed by an undercover police officer the whole time, and that Michael It was his idea, and he was the one that planned the whole thing. He was so desperate to become a reality TV star. So he had to convince Dalia to coordinate the murder for hire video. Well, the jury, they did not buy that, and they found Dalia guilty. She was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Well, this must be where it ends, right? Not even close. In 2014, an appeals court found that the jury was improperly selected, so the case was overturned. Dalia was now on house arrest, pending another trial that the prosecutors already said they were going to retry. So she was living at her mother's house and was awaiting that second trial again while being on house arrest. Dalia, during that time, became pregnant and gave birth to a son. In 2016, a retrial occurred. Dalia's defense took aim at the Boynton Beach Police Department. They accused the police of misconduct by staging the fake crime scene for the TV show Cops. The Boynton Beach Police Department, in response, of course, denied any wrongdoing and said they were gathering evidence against Dalia. Well, this retrial, it ended with a hung jury. In 2017, Dalia's third trial began. The jury returned a verdict in just 90 minutes. Now, leaving you on a hanger for what they found. Let's see. I've watched a bunch of videos on this. Okay, Paul, I actually wasn't sure if you had heard about this case, to be perfectly honest, just because you're not in this country, but I'm glad to hear that you have. And Paul, I am curious, if you're still listening, what your thoughts are on the videos, especially once I get to the end of the episodes, whether you think it was sincere or whether she was in fact acting like the defense tries to put forward. Thank you, Todd. Hey, Wolf, good to see you. Paul, Canadian drummers play Milestone. You need to keep your women smiling, guys. Oh, God. I mean, that's not the case with this. But, Wolf, that is nonetheless very, very good advice. The Paulcast, I guess she was insane, you'd think. I mean, hey, James Watson, I was wondering where you were. You're coming in your typical fashion. Okay. I was like, drummers? What? I had no idea what you guys were talking about, but you guys talk music. It's all good. It's all good. All right. Thanks, Paul. Good to know. Always, always. All right. So I mentioned that Dalia's third trial happened and the jury took 90 minutes. And they found her guilty of solicitation to commit first-degree murder, and she was sentenced to 16 years in prison. In September 2019, Dalia's request to the Florida Supreme Court to review her 2017 conviction was rejected without comment. In February 2020, Dalia's defense team tried to put the case before the U.S. Supreme Court, but the court denied to hear it. While in prison, Dalia has been leading a Bible study group. She also gets to see her son when he comes to visit. His grandmother is caring for him while Dalia is in prison. Dalia and Michael, of course, in the meantime, have gotten legally divorced. Michael, he has gone on to rebuild his life and has created a successful career in real estate. When he had to appear in court for the numerous retrials, he had said, quote, I had just purchased a home and we were going to start a life together. And we talked about traveling and doing things. And, we had like a future planned. And then he later added that he learned the pregnancy was a hoax the whole time too. He also was going on to say, quote, people tell me you're lucky to be alive. And I'm like, I guess, but I still have to go through all of this. It's not even real. It's like, I can't even believe we're still sitting here like this girl didn't even try to do this, end quote. Dalia has no more appeals left to file. She will remain in prison until her release date in February 2031, 2032. And that is the case of Dalia Dippolito. Now, do you guys have any questions, comments about this case? I have a few things to add to it, just my own personal commentary before, kind of while you guys are formulating any opinions on this. So in regards to her release date at the very end, there was a lot of differing articles saying either she's getting out in February 2031 or 2032. I know it's just the difference of a year, but that's why I said both of those, because it was pretty hard to tell. I couldn't find anything concrete, so I left it at that just so I didn't get the wrong one. But in regards to, and y'all, tell me what you think. In regards to the defense saying that, again, and this is in the second trial, because remember in the first, it was deny, deny, deny. The second trial was, yes, she knew she was being filmed. Yes, this was the plan. It was Michael who arranged all this because he wanted to be a reality TV star, et cetera, et cetera. My issue with this is, well, one, I'll just say I think it's bullshit. And here's why. Michael and Dalia, let's just go under that magical land of, you know what, mate, let's go with it and see if it works. They would have had to have known that the police were filming this video in regards to the friend meeting with Dalia to arrange the hitman. They would have had to have known that the actual quote unquote hitman was an undercover officer and they were being filmed. Again, police officers do not do this. So they would not have arranged this thing just to help make the Dippolitos reality TV stars. Just doesn't happen. But let's go with this. Okay, Dalia knew she was being filmed. Dalia and Mike would have had to have known, and there's no way they could have known, that the TV show Cops was going to be coming, one, to their area, and two, to be filmed that particular day that she was arrested. There's way too many things that would have had to be in place for them to have been at the forefront of this, especially Dalia, to plan all this. It just doesn't add up. It just doesn't. My thought is, if you're going to lie, just be better. Just try. It's one thing for them to say, we knew Cops was going to be in our area and they were going to be filming with police that day. But you didn't know all of this before with all of these other beatings. And again, when you're meeting with a quote unquote hitman, you're going to try to say now that, oh, well, I knew it was an undercover officer. We were trying to be reality TV stars. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. So that whole defense, clearly the jury didn't see through it. Clearly the jury saw through it. Sorry, it's been a long day. Clearly the jury didn't buy it because it only took them 90 minutes to come back with a guilty verdict. And there has been a lot of TV shows that have covered this case. I know the Oxygen channel has covered many, many specials on this. So there are a lot of interviews with particularly Mike Dippolito. And I've watched all of them because, again, this case has just always kind of fascinated me. And he does, again, come across as very sincere. And if you put those aside and you watch the court, anything from the court, that is, again, you can find a lot of it on YouTube. Having for so long, like he says, to go back to court and re-traumatized and speak about this, it's very taxing. It's absolutely very taxing on him. And you can see that. And he definitely makes that known each time he has to appear in court. On the one hand, he wasn't killed and he still has his life, which is an amazing thing. But he has to go back to that dark time in his life when the person that he married, that he thought loved him, that he loved, tried to arrange for him to be killed for financial gain. That's not an easy thing. But nonetheless, Michael has, again, rebuilt his life and he's become successful in his career. And that speaks volumes about him and his recovery in this, because it could have very easily gone the other way if Dalia's friend had not gone to police. So James Watson says she's the Black Dalia. Different Dalia, different one. But you know what? For you, just keep thinking that's easier. Wolf says, I wonder how many women get away with hitmen on their men. Seen several get caught trying to set up hitmen. Interesting question. Very interesting question. But again, Wolf, it's not just men that are hiring hitmen. Men do it too. I feel like we hear a little bit more, and again, it just could be what the news is reporting to us, but I seem to hear more about men hiring hitmen to take out their wife as opposed to women. I feel like women have taken other means in regards to true crime, but nonetheless, you're absolutely right. Because if they got away with it, we'd never know. We would just never know. Crazy, right? Right. Let's see. The bad acting at the crime scene was over the top. Okay, Todd, so you have seen the video too. Okay. All right. That's the thing. I feel like anybody who's seen that, like, you know. And again, I know a defense lawyer would argue everybody grieves differently. There's no proper way. Everybody has their own way of coming to terms with what, so on and so forth. We hear that every day at trials, every day. But she was adamant about seeing him, and the police wouldn't let her. She was adamant, which again, a defense could argue she couldn't believe it. Maybe she was stunned. It wasn't real until she saw him, or she wanted confirmation that the hitman did his job. But I agree with you, Todd. Sam Smith, hello. Hiring a hitman. I love when some idiots get caught trying to do this. These people have been watching too much TV. And then that's what they use as their defense. Welcome, Sam. Oh God, I know. Yeah. Was it Kate? No, Wolf made that point earlier. It's just, yeah, it's absolutely that it just, I can't even form the words, because it's just in this day and age. Yeah, I think it was Kate in regards to how can you trust a hitman nowadays? It's nothing can be trusted because, and again, I'm not giving people advice here. I'm really not. The world we live in right now, there's cameras everywhere. Stores, government buildings, street cameras, at the four-way stops, stoplight cameras. People have Ring cameras now. A lot of people have Ring cameras. There's just cameras everywhere. So even if you're not directly on video in regards to arranging a hit like Dalia was, and again, that video too is online. So you can find it when she's in the car talking to the quote unquote hitman. And oh yeah, she is no nonsense. She is right down to it. Here's a schedule. Here's her address. I'm 5,000% sure I want you to kill my husband. I mean, she's very clear. Let's be straight. But again, even if there's a hitman who doesn't go rat you out, crime scenes, people are not smarter than law enforcement for the most part. They're just not. So you're going to be recorded somewhere meeting this person, your phone records. It's just one way or another. Just get divorced. Just get divorced. It blows my mind. We're in 2024. Society in history has shown people have not learned. It's just, I'm going to get rid of my spouse for financial gain. Whatever I just don't want to be with them anymore. Whatever the reason, we've heard it all. Just get divorced, because you are not the smartest person in the room and you're going to get caught. And now, especially when there's kids involved, now the kids have no parents. In this case, there was no children. And actually the pregnancy she lied to him about. But still, it's just, yeah, people think they're just not going to get caught. So she's single then. Well, I did not want to, nor necessarily go down that avenue in the research to see, is she single in jail? But James, you could certainly look up, those like ride a prison programs and see if she's on those datings looking for love in prison. Certainly worth a shot, James. Has Danny ever done a program on the Black Dahlia case of 48? I have not. because you guys know I don't really cover cold cases on here. I know me and Paul from the Paulcast, there's a really great book that we have discussed a few times just in passing over on Manson Saga. That's about the Black Dahlia. He actually got me to read it. And it's really, really great. And it lays out who really are the viable suspects. But again, and we were talking about maybe doing an episode on that, but nothing's really come to fruition. But for the most part, I'm not jumping to do it because, again, I don't really cover cold cases. But that is one that, Sam, you're not the only one that has recommended. Do the Black Dahlia case. But, you know. Oh, and then you answered your own question. That's what happens when I'm a little bit behind. That video of the scene is over the top. I don't know how the cops kept a straight face. Fiddle, it's called acting. It's called acting. But your first point, yeah, that, I mean, Todd said the same thing earlier. It is over the top. Over the top. Yeah. So, and the world has now seen that video. James, you don't ever hire a hitman. You just trade murders with someone. You know, if that's how you do your business, you do you, boo. But that's not how I do mine. Hey, Steph, good to see you. No, don't apologize. You're good. And if you missed anything earlier, just go back and check it out if you're interested. Or just go to you. Well, one, yes, please go back. But two, go to YouTube and watch the Dalia Dippolito videos because that's what we've been talking about. And yeah, from a female perspective, I would love to know your perspective on it if you've seen the videos because the men are very clear, like, oh my God, over the top. Then again, I think over the top too, but yeah. No camera needed. They have RFID recorders everywhere. They're literally tracking your every move. Exactly. Sam, exactly. Again, so even if, like, good point, they're not on camera, there's been so many trials of people that have arranged for not just necessarily a hitman, but even a family member or somebody to help them kill their spouse or a family member or whatnot, right? There's text messages, there's phone call records, there's so much. There's emails, there's so many avenues now. And again, we're in 2024 and people still think they can cover all their tracks and think, yes, everybody else in the history of time have gotten caught, but I'm not going to get caught. I covered my tracks. Stay stupid, people. I don't know what to say. Well, James Watson, that sounds like a you problem. Hard to be a criminal today. You know, it's funny. Oh God, what podcast was I listening to? It was an older case. It was recently, sometime over this past weekend. I listened to like a lot, so they all kind of get lost in the shuffle in the end. But it was one that was, again, I think it was like 40 years ago would be. So about 60, 65 years ago. And it was talking about how law enforcement, was doing their end. It just kind of, nothing in particular that grabbed me, but it just made me think how much harder law enforcement had to work back then to solve their cases, like old-fashioned boot on the ground, knocking on doors type of work. Whereas now, they didn't have computer databases to look at. They didn't have the DNA. They had none of that. And then to see where law enforcement is now and the tools they have now to solve cases, it's just night and day. Oh, I wish I could remember the case, but whatever it was, it just made me just kind of quickly think like, my God, all of the cases that law enforcement solved back then with the little tools they had, it's commendable. It's absolutely commendable. Yes, Danny, breaking the law is not worth it, especially with these heavy crimes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It is not worth it. Again, especially when there's kids involved. Because again, people seem to think I'm the smartest one in the room. I'm not going to get caught. And what happens? Now there's one spouse dead and one spouse in prison, and these kids have no parents. But that seems to be the last thing on someone's mind. Hi, PJ. Welcome. Good to see you. Oh, Fiddle. Oh, Fiddle, I'm going to... You know what? Okay, so Fiddle and Me will be doing a collab coming up that has been in the works for 20 years now, it feels like. But I think Little Tools should be your nickname, Fiddle. I really do. I really do. You guys are so stupid. All right. So to wrap this case up, again, this was a very kind of different one that I cover because in the end, no actual murder had occurred. Thank goodness. For Mike Dippolito, thank goodness. But again, this has been a case that has been on my list for quite a while that I've really wanted to cover. So that was what I was going to do before I head off to CrimeCon. But yeah, do you guys have any last minute questions, comments, thoughts, anything? And also, if anybody is watching this after the live, by all means, please leave a comment. Please leave a comment because I really want to know if you've seen the videos. It could be all, it could be just one. Again, of Dalia, at the crime scene outside of the condo by police when she's being told her husband's dead, whether she's in the police interrogation room, or bringing it way back when she is in the car with the hitman arranging for the hit. So I'm just very curious on you guys' thought. And again, if it's the type of thing where you believe the second trial's defense theory of it was staged. She knew. Mike planned it. There are some people that do believe that theory. There are some people, I try not to look at, blogs and stuff like that, but I try to, for this one, I kind of wanted to get a feel because to me, it's just super obvious. But I wanted to see, is there anybody out there that does believe that theory? And she does have some supporters. It seems to be, again, online, seems to be a small amount, but there are some that do feel that this was that Dalia got screwed. Mike was the one that organized this. They were in it together. He wanted to be a reality star. She wanted to please her husband, make him famous, and she took the fall. I don't believe that though, but some do. And if you're one of those people, by all means, please leave a comment, and I just like to see what people are thinking. Let's see. How does someone even find a hitman? Seems tough to find. I don't have that answer. True crime history of cases. We can go back and see how others have found and how successful was that? Because a lot of times now they're in prison because they got caught. But I'm only speaking on the cases that I've covered or have researched or kind of have started to research that are in the works. A lot of it seems to be connecting with someone who knows someone, or being one more step removed, someone who knows someone who knew someone who did prison time and can arrange. But that's risky too, because you run the risk of the person that you're telling you what you want to do. Are they gonna say, okay, yeah, let me help you arrange this? Some do, and then in the end they all get busted, but some don't. Or the more people you involved, again, the more mouths that know this, someone's gonna slip, someone's gonna get caught, and someone's gonna slip, and someone's gonna, especially when there's multiple people involved, someone will roll over because they're gonna want to save their ass and not go down for this. We see it all the time. But kind of shorthand, where to find a hitman, I don't know. I've never had to do that, so I don't know. Soldiers of Fortune magazine used to be the go-to place. Oh, Jesus. If you have to ask, you are not qualified to hire a hitman. You know what, Sam? I am giving you a star for that because that's a pretty good comeback. That's pretty good. Good job. Supposedly, right, Steph. Yeah, I thought the same thing too, on the dark web. But again, is that safe, or you're going to get busted? It's, there's a lot you can do on the dark web that people think they won't get caught for, and they do. But yeah, good one. Facebook targeted ads. Just talk about meeting a hitman in front of your phone. Oh my gosh. I know. For any of you guys watching on your phones, you're going to, yeah. Phil, you are so right. You are so right. There's going to be, oh God. My apologies. My apologies. Oh God. Oh, you mean Beckham? Or Beckett? Did you mean Beckham? I have Beckham on retainer. That was your first mistake, James. Oh God. How did Dalia meet her hitman contact? Okay. So, Wolf, what happened was, all right, and there's more info with that too. So Dalia reached out to her friend Muhammad and told Muhammad she wanted to kill her husband, Mike, and have him, have a hitman hired to kill her husband. Asked Muhammad if he knew anybody who would want to do it. Muhammad, her friend, felt totally uncomfortable with what was brought to him and immediately went to police. So the police worked with him to arrange this whole thing. And again, the police hired the quote unquote hitman. There is a lot of theories and information on the web. I couldn't 100% confirm it, but it leans more likely than not that Dalia was actually involved with Muhammad at the time she was married to Michael. That Muhammad and her were old school ex-boyfriend, girlfriends, got back together and were actually involved while Michael was alive. There was some other rumors, again, nothing that I could substantiate, so I didn't want to necessarily put it in the kind of more factually based research, but at the end here, I don't mind talking about it, that she was involved with other men too while Michael was involved. And it doesn't seem too far-fetched to me, to be honest, especially if she was planning all these things to try to set him up to get arrested. Those weren't working, so now she was just going to hire a hitman and just get it taken care of once and for all. So it didn't matter if she was with other people. Doesn't, because she wasn't planning on being with Michael much longer anyway, because she wanted him either in prison or dead. But that seems to be the gist of the rumors about Dalia with her and Muhammad specifically. But it is fact that she did go to her friend, at the very least to her friend, to arrange this. And he went to police and turned on her. Thank God. Woody Allen's movie Crimes and Misdemeanors is about a doctor who hires a hitman to get rid of his mistress, but he had a relative, quote, in the life, end quote. That would be the only way. Stephen, for Christ's sakes. Sorry if I missed you. No, all good, hon, you're good. Again, this is a case I've wanted to talk about, so ask as many questions as you want. As many as you want. The lesson is, don't be a chick named Dalia. Seems to never ends well. Oh, God. You know what, James? That took about 25% of thought. I'll give that a star. So maybe if you're connected, otherwise forget about it. And even if you are connected, forget about it. Because think about it. The person that is being hired to do the crime, they don't have loyalty to you, even if you pay them. And there are issues of people not paying their hitmen, and that's a whole thing. And then they get, again, people stay stupid. But yeah, that person, they have no loyalty to you. What's this? If something comes up, 5-10 years down the road and police are like, hey, we found, you don't think that person's going to roll over on you? Of course they are. Of course they are. It's just get divorced, people. Just get divorced. I don't know. It just seems like such an easier solution compared to, which divorce is not easy. I'm not saying it is. But if you're comparing that through just killing off your spouse and assuming you'll get away with it, it's just doesn't seem to weigh out. So maybe if you're connected, that's the case comment you just did, sorry. Danny, have you ever read the book, The Last Call Killer? No, I have not, Steph. Let me know if I need to add it in my Amazon cart. And we see that, exactly. And we see that because, again, even if you've paid them off down the road, if they're strapped for cash, they have your secret. And if they say, I'm gonna expose you, You don't think that person, for hand over another 5,000 at this point? I mean, yeah, they will always have that. It's just not worth it. It's not worth it. But again, I'm just, oh my God, all these little roundabouts. But we also see, and it's not as common, I would say, in kind of at least a lot of the cases that I've studied, that people will then get rid of those who know too much. A, B, and C, those people know what I did. I got to get rid of them too now. And then what is that doing? It's just snowballing. It's just adding more and more. But yeah, so you're even at risk too, because even as a hitman, now you know too much. So, but you're absolutely right. You're spot on. And tell no one. Yes. And that's the thing too. As I said earlier, when there are so many people involved, there's middlemen who arrange the hit, all these people, all it takes is one person to open their mouth to somebody else. And now the whole thing crumbles. And we see that over and over and over again. No one learns. No one learns. Why was Gary Hinman killed? For that answer, go over to the Paulcast Manson Saga discussion panel. Yeah, that is a topic for that. Because we would tack on like another hour here, hun. Going over to Manson Saga. Or just go with Sam Smith's answer. I'm not saying it's the right one, but you could just go with it. Thank you, Wolf. Thank you, Wolf. Yeah. That would be a whole episode in itself. But yeah, go on over to Manson Saga, hun. All right, everybody, I'm going to wind this down. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Danny After Dark, and especially for just, again, being there while I talk about a case I really wanted to talk about. So leave a comment on this video. Again, even if for those of you in the chat who have seen the videos on YouTube, go back, check it out. Again, especially if you didn't know like the whole case, now you've been presented, go back and check it out and rewatch the videos and just, see if that changes your mind at all. Maybe you think the prosecution team in the second trial had something, maybe they were onto something, or maybe you think, now that I've heard this, I think the acting is way more over the top than I originally thought. That's a fair comment too. All right, everybody. Again, I will not be around this weekend for True Crime and Chill because I will be in Nashville for CrimeCon. I will try to do some posts on Instagram, like on the Instagram stories or whatnot. Maybe do an Instagram. We'll see. We'll see if I'm not super, super busy, but chances are I'll be super busy. So make sure, again, follow me over on my Instagram, The Danny After Dark. And other than that, have a great rest of your week. I will see you guys next week. And until the meantime, remember, we don't live in darkness. Darkness lives in us.